Hey guys, Butts here, and today I want to do a follow-up video on the Wardless super build I made a video on about a week ago. And full disclosure, I haven't played this build in about 4 days. Some combination of temporal bubbles turning, is it, yeah, temporal bubble, and zone transitions turning off your ward loop, and then some other minor annoyances like execution rods being really dangerous, and all sorts of other stuff were just kind of adding up and making me stop having fun on this build, so I kind of abandoned it. And I tried a lot to mitigate those problems, but I just could not. And I still think I don't have the exact best version of this, obviously. But I still wanted to talk about the transitions this build has gone through, and like I guess where I'm currently at, and then where I think like the future of a build like this would go. So yeah, let's get into it. Initially, I started with 4 2 dust jewels, and then window of opportunity down here. So I get to 99% reduced skeleton duration. That's like the typical ward loop setup. And what that lets you do is you only have to use 1 heartbound loop because each skeleton will deal you 420 damage. You can mitigate further with endurance charges like this build is 5. Because it'll deal you 1260 damage in total, so you can mitigate like 25% of that or so. As long as it's enough to proc a cast when damage taken Forbidden Rite. And then this, in combination with the skellies, has to deal about 2,950-ish damage so that it can proc a level 2020 cast when damage taken, or I think like 3,100 damage or so if you want to do a level 21 cast when damage taken with 20 quality. But I digress. That is where we initially were at. Someone in the comments mentioned something really interesting in that 2 dust, or this dust green jewel, lets you drop a 2 dust because this is another source of reduced duration if you put in your left ring slot. And getting back a jewel socket's huge because these jewels, you know, suck, right? You don't want to use these. But then someone else mentioned something even more interesting in the comments, and that is that if you get to like the next cooldown breakpoint for cast and damage taken, which is 27%. This is how much I have on my Fire Axe Cock Trigger build, by the way. Just random side note. So I have 13 on my belt, and then 14 here. This gets us 27, which is the breakpoint, and that lets you use a cast and damage taken, Ray Zombie of Falling. The quality on this is very important. This exact 60% less skill effect duration, or it doesn't work. Alongside Summon Raging Spirit. These don't have to be together because this less duration doesn't affect this. But cast and damage taken, less duration, Summon Raging Spirit, and then cast and damage taken, Ray Zombie of Falling. And then an additional cast and damage taken set up somewhere else, like either Forbidden Rite or Summon Skeletons, will let you not have to use 2 dust jewels or less duration at all. And so that's right now, we don't have to come down to window opportunity. We don't have to use 2 dust jewels. The only real, I mean, it's a pretty big downside in my mind, is I had to put in a second heartbound loop so that I take enough fizz damage on these. So that I can actually proc a second setup to get the remaining 3,000. You could probably get around this, and I think I was able to get around this if I drop like the endurance charges entirely and then lower my chaos res, but like that to me just makes my character so much worse that I was just willing to use a heartbound loop so that I didn't have to, because it's like I'd rather lose a ring than my endurance charges, right? I think that tracks like 20% reduced Ellie and Fizz taken is just too huge in my mind to drop. So that is where we are currently at, is we have this setup which just lets you drop all of this stuff. And what I was running into was we were ZDPS in the video, right? As you could tell, I think I was like 3 million damage or something, or probably even a little bit less. And that was because I had to drop, like I only had the 1/6 link for damage, right? In a build like this, like you get direct power from sockets. So I was thinking, what's interesting is we could use a bow, and then we could use the Calgar, that's so hard to say for me. The Runecraft for increases in reduction in minion damage also apply to you, because at the time I was using so many 2 dust jewels that enchant, or that Runecraft enchant was just so much damage because we had all this damage from these stupid jewels. Funny story is like once someone else commented about this thing, like I dropped all these, so I don't have that on this this bow. It's still more damage, by the way, than like what I currently have, but it's just so expensive to get like 5% more damage. Just doesn't make sense for like the 18, or God, it's like 27 divines or something. But anyways. Yeah, I thought, well, I could use a bow because then I get another 6 link, but more importantly, I get another 3 sockets because if I use Maloney's mechanism, I get 3 sockets here, right? Like, I mean, I just have, you can have a cast of damage taken in here, or I just have my automation phase run in Righteous Fire. But essentially getting to use a bow gives us 3 sockets back, which is incredible on a build like this. And then because we're doing that, we get to use Battlemage, and as you can see, I have it's like I just like a silly amount of flat for my bow. I think this is like about 1,000 flat. Since we're an Inquisitor, we don't care about what the damage type is. So this is just like over double damage to all of our spells. And then obviously we have additional mods like multi and then double damage while focused. I can't think of much else we would actually want, honestly, suffixes wise, but getting a sniper bow just makes sense to me because it's like another just crit multi, and we don't actually attack with this bow or use it in any meaningful way. It's literally just a bow stat stick. Since we lost Pious Path, which, as I mentioned in the last video, I didn't think was a really big deal because our ES was always about empty. It would mitigate our fizz hits from this a little bit to make us a little bit beefier, but it was always essentially down because we don't have ES recoup. So I dropped this and I picked up a Rational Doctrine. And since we have more int, we create Profane Ground since our int is higher when we hit enemies. You could keep these balanced, but you don't really need to because the last node you would take on Inquisitor is probably either Sanctuary or Augury of Penitence. This one is more damage than this anyway. So if you take Sanctuary, just you like I have the typical Inquisitor thing, right? Like I have Consecrated Ground that lingers because Profane Proxy lets the Consecrated Ground linger regardless of like what your stats are. So I have like permanent Consecrated Ground and then pretty much permanent Profane Ground because we are almost crit capped, right? So anytime we hit an enemy, we'll have that. Which is awesome. Just like, I don't know, I thought this was pretty cool getting to use this because it gets us sockets, gets us a ton of damage. I think this setup kind of makes a lot of sense. The one issue is, I guess going back to the whole thing that started this, like where we can like do this setup as opposed to using the skeleton duration thing, is we had to put on the second Heartbound loop, which meant that we lost a ton of recoup because like right here, this is like 34% recoup, and then we have increased life recovery rate stuff through like the Soul of Aracali Pantheon that I talked about in the last video. So we just lost like around like 45 or maybe almost 50 recoup, which put us to like around 100%, which means that we don't really sustain off recoup anymore. So I had to do something pretty gross, and that is use a Mob Conquest. This helmet is not awful. It is not great, but it does fix our recoup, and then we get the remaining part by pathing over to Vampirism over here. This helmet technically is not the most terrible with Apostate because this ES gets directly turned into life. This is like 207 life from the ES, and then up to 70 life from the actual helmet. I got a Corrupted Power Charge because it's cheap and it's just a lot of damage since we're just under the crit cap still. Unaffected by poison is also kind of nice, but I'm currently using this Pantheon anyway, so how much that affects us, who knows. But to get the remaining recoup, we had to use this, which is disgusting. Which stinks because we lost like this helmet. Let me see. Yeah, is another like I can't math right now, but it's a lot. Was that like 800? Like about 800 more life getting to use a rare. So that's a huge hit. But then it was also switching the bow is also a giant hit on this because like a similar amount here. This is like also another 800 life. Like if we do this, right, we have 9,500 life. So it does stink having to do this because we lost so much. Son of a butt. Sorry. Yeah, we lost so much life by doing this, which has made like the initial loop to start this going just like so much sketchier because we get really low. So it made the proximity shield problem even worse. Like when we were on this setup, where we had like so much life, like we had like 9,000 north of 9,000 life, like almost 10k. The proximity shield thing was annoying, but it didn't really matter because we would just play like a Thorns build or like a Retaliation build because we just run into mobs, get hit, and then it would start a loop up again. Because we didn't really need to weapon swap to do anything. I was weapon swapping in the video, but that's just because out of habit when I had lower life when I needed to do that. But once you have like around like 10k life, you just don't need to do that. So you can just run into mobs, they'll hit you eventually, and it'll start your loop back up for you. This one, you can't do that, which makes the proximity shield thing so much more annoying. So yeah, that's like directly why I stopped playing the build. Because of when it gets turned off, you have to like literally just like sit, like go somewhere safe, start your Ray Zombie a Falling Loop again. If you're leeching and hitting mobs, this doesn't really matter. But with proximity shield, it's like really obnoxious because it's like you can't get the loop going if the mob's chasing you and you don't run very fast, right? So it kind of becomes a huge annoyance. But yeah, like when you have this like damage taken leeches life, which another thank you YouTube, another YouTube comment, I didn't think about using this mod. But then we like coming with the leech in our gloves, and like we're at like 150% recoup or so. So like you'll be fine. It's just the proximity shield was just like God, you know. I feel like I've said the proximity shield like 1,000 times in this video, but it is directly related to why I'm not playing the build currently. So, yeah. Anyways, I think that's mostly it on like the updates I made to the build. I unfortunately did have to lose this Transcendent Flesh, which was a ton of recovery rate. I think it was like about 20%. I had one here. We just ran out of points. Like if I want to come over to Vampirism, which I definitely do. Yeah, I have like an additional like recoup on some of these jewels to like make up what we lost from losing things like that. Because like we lost some recoup by having to lose this. Like we lost so much recoup losing this ring, and that's essentially I'm making up for that by this travel. The future updates I would make on this current build is it's very expensive, but I would get Chaos Res on all my int tattoo, or like all these int tattoos. God, or all these int nodes change to Chaos Res so we could get close to cap. You can take these nodes, but it's kind of feel bad because we're already like 100% reduced curse effect. I think we're like 90, but I want to change two int nodes to reduce curse effect, so we'll be curse immune, and then we are shock immune from Storm Shroud, or Ellie Element immune from this. You could also potentially, I guess that's it. Yeah. We're Ellie Element immune, curse immune, and then you could get bleed immune if you like change some of your strength tattoos, or strength nodes. But I haven't actually done that because it's like a strength is directly tied to our crit chance. Like I'm already a little lower than I would like this to be. But yeah, long story short, that's where the build is currently. But I do want to talk about something that I think is super interesting that I didn't really understand until I actually saw Palstron's most recent video. I think it was Palstron, where he's talking about the Beacon of Madness making the ward flask actually reduce its effects, so you get to keep most of your ward. Like it reduces, like you use the Beacon of Madness boots, you build up stacks where you end up with like 100%. Let me turn this on. Yeah, where is it? This does not work at all in Inquisitor, by the way, because this mod reduce recovery, life and energy shield recovery rate, which is literally a thing this whole build is built around scaling. So you definitely can't do this here. But anyways, this less flash charges and reduce effect makes the ward flask of like 85% reduced ward during effect go down to like about 0. So you just get all your ward from your stuff. And what is like insanely powerful about that, on top of like getting explosions from this and poison, everything poisons, which is crazy because yeah, you guys know how many times I've built around like the Vine Spoke Cordial boots with like grasping vines and then all your damage poisons. But this just gives you that. And anyways, what's so powerful about that setup is people are doing stuff like this. Like I didn't understand it until I watched the Palstron video, but then I was like, oh, I get what these guys are doing. Like over here, this is actually really underplayed, by the way, because I think this is like the true end game of like Wardloop, of like is doing this setup. So these guys have like just, I mean, I assume you can get like a second flask in here potentially, but long story short, they're using these boots. They'll end up with around like 15 to 18k ward, and since it reduces the effect of this 80% less ward, it gets down to about 0. So that's why they have like a ridiculously giant max hit, because with like 18k ward, you'll end up with like about 11k ward effectively, because these boots give you a 60% increased damage taken. But that's actually where this gets like really helpful, weirdly. This 60% increased damage taken you get from these boots at this max stacks actually makes it so you only need one Harpin loop, because like these guys are sabs, so this probably doesn't affect them as much because you get double your triggers, right? So you take more damage anyway. But with the 60% increased damage taken here, like for example, if I could take 60% increased damage taken on this, I would only need the one Heartbound loop, because the first one could trigger the second one. I would just use Forbidden Rate to take a little more damage, like not have a ton of Chaos Res, etc. But you just don't deal enough damage off of 2 minion deaths on this loop. But if you have those boots on, you take a little bit more damage, making this this loop like a little bit tighter. So I don't know, it's kind of like it kind of just like works perfectly in all this setup. And then since all your damage poisons, like these guys are using Solar Spiral, which I have a video on about how that skill shotguns as well. But You also get to take advantage of things like Ice Spear and not Frostbolt, but like Creeping Frost, because those skill shotgun and GMP is no downside if you actually are playing it as poison, because the boots let out all damage poison. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I kind of think I don't know that I will do it just because like I'm kind of burned out. I'm like I've messed with word loop so much, it's just like trying to get this build to like function and then like getting all the like the cooldowns lined up. It's quite time consuming. So I don't know that I will play another looper, but like honestly, it's strange to me how few of the people are actually playing this because I think this actually is like the next stage of this build, honestly. Just after thinking about it, and I don't know that you necessarily need all this investment because you still get to use the things like Ice Spear and Creeping Frost, etc. to like shotgun. So obviously having Nimis is crazy for your damage, but yeah, this setup I think is better than mine, which stinks because I don't know this tech of this reduced flask effect with Beacon of Madness that was discovered this league is just so hot. It like literally solves so many kinds of issues. I don't know how those guys deal with dots because you have 100% reduced recovery rate, which even means your flasks don't do anything. I guess you can use an instant flask, but no, you can't because it's like you can't use more flask slots because you need the charges. So yeah, I'm not entirely sure how those guys deal with dots because you can't have recovery rate. You need instant heal, which I guess means are they taking it? Are they taking instant? Because instant leech, by the way, gets around. I know I'm rambling. I'm sorry, but let's see. Do they have instant leech anyway? Oh, they do not. But if you have instant leech, that gets around things like reduced recovery rate because instant has no time, right? So it just instantly heals you, or life gain on hit. They have life gain on hit. No, because they're using unique rings. So they're using Vitality Watcher's Eye. They are not. Okay. Well, I don't know how they're dealing with dots, but but other than that, that setup just sounds so insanely powerful to me. You just have like a giant max hit. You kind of solve a lot of your issues with like the whole like you don't need to like mess with the recoup thing at all. But yeah, I would think that's the next direction of the build. I'm still not entirely sure how to set it up, but yeah, like I tried a bunch of stuff to get this to work. Like I also mess around with like Scold's Bridle and just like other ways to actually take the damage so that you don't need to do this because having to use 2 Heartbound loops is just so devastating. But yeah, like you can get like if you like you can use Tainting Callus to fix like corrupted ones because you can buy like cheap corruptions with like a Zealotry or this and then use Tainting Callus to try to fix it. But long story short, I think I would if you guys are interested in this archetype, I would definitely investigate what like the Beacon of Madness setups. It's pretty expensive because like you need to actually get like a very large amount of ward to like actually make the setup make sense to be worth doing and then get your charges up. But yeah, I just want to make a follow up and discuss like where I'm at. I hope that was helpful. I know I rambled a bit. I didn't really know how to like structure my thoughts. I'll probably try to work on that. But yeah, if you guys have any questions or further suggestions, I'm definitely open to hear them. So thanks for stopping by.